Hello, my name is Dave Lee Travis and welcome to another edition of the Top 10 Auto Show. This week's category, Multi Purpose Vehicles or MPVs. This year we've put together the two categories of small MPVs and large MPVs into one, because with some new models introduced, the category lines have become somewhat blurred. Plus, this will also give you the top 10 of the very best MPVs on sale. It may be on the bottom rung, but the Audi A2 could almost be in a class of its own. Launched against a background of pushing forward its technological achievements in working with aluminium, the Audi A2 is a small MPV which has been designed to save weight and running costs. With a completely aluminium space frame underneath aluminium panels, this is a very light car, which means it sips fuel rather than gulps it. Of course, there's a price to pay for this technology, and you may think it ridiculous to pay over the odds for what is in effect just a small MPV. The high price is offset by the cheap running costs, and like other Audis, it'll keep its value well after a few years when you may decide to sell. The A2 is called an MPV, but it may not be completely flexible for many needs. 4 adults will travel in comfort, 5 is a bit of a push, and the boot isn't that big to be honest. But this car isn't aimed at the big family. 2 adults and 2 children, no problem. So, let's take a look at the specifications of the Audi A2. Let's reveal what our expert panel of judges decided to vote the Audi A2. And with a combined average score of 51, this puts the Audi A2 in the number 10 position. At the number 9 position, it's a very similar looking vehicle, the Mercedes A-Class. The manufacturers may disagree with us, but both the Audi A2 and the A-Class have a similar shape and similar capacity. Where the Mercedes A-Class scores, though, is with the long wheelbase option. This may not seem important, but in reality it transforms the car to create almost limousine proportions of legroom, especially in the back. This car is heavier than the A2, and you'll find that the base 1.4 engine certainly has enough power for getting on, but you'll have to rev it very hard. Generally though, the engine range shows refinement, and the 1.7 turbo diesel really is an excellent choice, especially for long distance work. As an MPV, this is the very practical machine. The boot space may be quite small, but you can take out everything apart from the driver's seat. And you've got a workman's van instantly. So overall, an impressive small MPV from Mercedes, the A-Class. Let's take a look at the specifications for this model. So let's reveal the scores of all 5 categories voted for by our expert panel. Each of the categories have been averaged down to create a total of 58%, putting the Mercedes A-Class at the number 9 position in our top 10 chart of MPVs. At the number 8 position, it's a new entry in our chart, and it's from Toyota. In the last year, they brought out a variation of their successful Avensis saloon. They called it the Verso because of its versatility. This is essentially a well-built Toyota with plenty to commend it, and gives you more space than the previous 2 vehicles, the A-Class and the A2. The handling and ride is very good, and carries over many of the excellent attributes from the Avensis saloon. There are no rattles and squeaks, and body rolls well controlled on bends. There's a choice of 2 engines, the 2-litre petrol and the 2-litre diesel. As expected, the diesel has the better economy and the petrol has the better refinement. The styling may not be to everybody's choice, And it may be obvious that they didn't start from scratch with this vehicle. It seems very much an adapted original Avensis, as the outward curves have to follow the new bulbous shape determined by the larger interior. Value for money isn't bad, and you get plenty of high specification equipment across the range. Where you may need to worry is on the residual value, and since this is so new, it's not certain what the Verso will hold up to value-wise after a few years. So let's take a look at the specifications in detail. So now let's see how our panel of experts mark the car in our top 10 auto show categories. The Toyota Verso, with an average score of 61. This puts the vehicle at number 8 in our top 10 of MPVs. Moving up our chart to number 7, and it's another new entry. This is the Honda Stream. True, it looks very similar to the Toyota Verso, but honestly, they are designed by different teams. Actually, the windows have a bit more styling with the Honda, and the Stream certainly is less van-like than the Verso. You'll still get 5 inside with comfort, and an extra 2 at the back, making it a 7-seater. With all the seats in use, however, you'll find very little room for any luggage whatsoever, so you definitely will need a roof box in this situation. Another point to keep in mind with this MPV is that with the 2 extra seats in the back, these 2 seats, when they're fully erected, are very close to the back window. Now, in the rare occurrence of a shunt from a vehicle behind, you really have to ask the question, would you want 2 of your kids in these seats? This is a question answered by some different styling options of other MPVs later in our program. As regards the Honda Stream, the driving experience is extremely rewarding, and the layout of the equipment is ergonomic and simplicity itself. The ride in handling is very good for a vehicle of this type and size, and with the 2-litre option, even gives some enjoyable performance. So let's take a look at the specifications of the all-new Honda Stream. Well, now let's see how our expert panel have marked the Honda Stream. The Honda Stream, with an average score of 62% from our panel of expert judges, putting it into the number 7 position. We're getting closer to that top 5 now, and just outside that group at number 6 we discover the Ford Fusion. Now this is a brand new machine that Ford says creates a category for itself, and in a way they're right. This could be seen as a pumped-up Super Mini, but it also has the flexibility of an MPV, and that's why it's in this category. Compared to the Fiesta, there really is a lot of room in the back for a couple of adults. The boot's bigger and far easier to load than the Fiesta, but it's a shame that the rear seats can't be taken out completely to give that extra flexibility that an MPV should offer. All models have basic power steering, airbags and central locking, with an option list for things like air conditioning and anti-lock brakes, a very similar situation to the Fiesta. So why should anyone pay about £1,000 more for a Ford Fusion over a basic Fiesta? Well, the Fusion will probably appeal to the established Ford devotee who wants a higher driving position and a little more space than the Fiesta. So now let's see how our panel of experts mark the car in our top 10 auto show categories. So, the Ford Fusion, all new for this year and highly impressive, gives a combined score of 63%. putting it in position number 6 in our top 10. And at the number 5 position, the MPV that has sprouted everywhere over the last few years, the Citroen Picasso. The triumph of marketing over product. The Picasso has become so popular mainly because of the amazing deals that Citroen were doing at its launch, undercutting many of its competitors. That Picasso is also a very stylish MPV. The sleek egg-type curves look very futuristic. Now, even without the special deals, the Citroen Picasso is good value and extremely practical. The car's very roomy inside with loads of head and leg space for adults in the front and in the back. Rather than the bench seat in the rear, you get 3 separate seats, all with separate head restraints. Plus the seats can be folded and tipped as well, and can be simply removed. There are 2 trims with the Picasso, the LX and SX trim levels, and if you really want to splash out, there's even a level called the Exclusive. Although even on the highest trim levels, you still have to pay extra for the satellite navigation and electric sunroof. One of the downsides of buying a new Picasso is that because there are so many around, the second-hand market will start to become flooded in the next year, so we can't see very high residual values. So let's take a look at the specifications of the Citroen Picasso. Well, now let's see how our expert panel have marked the Citroen Picasso. So with a combined average score from our expert panel of 66, the Citroen Picasso goes into our chart this year at number 5. That's all for part 1 of our programme. Do join me again in part 2 when we'll be running down the top 4. Hello, I'm Dave Lee Travis, and welcome back to the top 10 of MPVs. Well, we're almost at the top 3, but just outside at number 4 and still riding very high in our chart is the Chrysler PT Cruiser. The people who drive these enjoy the looks it gets as it zooms around like a mini gangstermobile. The PT Cruiser has been a huge success in America, where it was designed by Chrysler, and the fact that sales have gone well in Europe for them has just been the icing on the cake. The build quality is okay, but not quite up to Mercedes standards, although of course now the 2 companies are together for their next big car, the Crossfire, we should really begin to see the quality rise. So for the PT Cruiser you may have to put up with some rather cheap plastics and wobbly trim, but these are only niggles in a total package which is quite impressive. Even though this car has the hot rod look, it's a spacious and practical machine, and can cope easily with 5 people plus their associated luggage. The people in the back may not be quite as comfortable on the bench seat, but the huge advantage of this is that the sections can be lifted out, creating a huge space for luggage when only 2 people are travelling. There's even a shelf inside which has another life as a picnic table. Overall, we'd say that although there are other MPVs which are more practical, you may be won over by the Chrysler PT Cruiser's retro looks, and you may already be reaching for the checkbook in your pocket. So before you do, let's take a look at the car's specifications. So now let's see how our panel of experts marked the car in our top 10 auto show categories. So, the Chrysler PT Cruiser at number 4 in our top 10 of MPVs. We're into the all-important top 3 right now, and at number 3 position, down from number 1, it's the Ford Galaxy, the most popular of the badge-engineered MPVs, which also include the Seat Alhambra and the Volkswagen Charan. The Ford Galaxy may be a large MPV, but it's very manoeuvrable and surprisingly easy to drive. Under the bonnet, even with the Ford badge on the front, you'll get a Volkswagen engine, unless you choose the Ford 2.3-litre four-cylinder engine. Now, all of them have plenty of pulling power and are pretty well refined as well. If you're new to MPV territory, the Ford Galaxy will be the less shocking to you, as the whole experience is very much like driving a large family car. Now, the interior space is huge, and there's plenty of legroom for all, even in the third row. Usually, children are put in the back row because it's a bit of a scramble for big adults getting there with the middle seats tipped forward. The ownership costs of the Galaxy can be quite high. It is a big vehicle to lug around, and you'll find you really have to pay the penalty at the pumps. Servicing can also be quite expensive, but overall, a great family favourite, and no wonder. Let's take a look at the specifications. So now let's see how our panel of experts mark the car in our top 10 auto show categories. So with the Ford Galaxy at number 3, what are the top 2 MPVs in our chart? Let's reveal all. At the number 2 position, it's the ever-popular Vauxhall Zafira. The person who designed this must have once worked on Doctor Who's TARDIS, as it really is incredible how much they've managed to fit into a reasonably sized space. Appealing to people who dread to drive anything as large as the Ford Galaxy, the Zafira can fit 7 thanks to very clever seating arrangements, where the 2 back seats flip out of the floor. These rear seats are rather small and would really only suit children, but they give you the flexibility without having to leave seats at home or at a friend's house. Being a Vauxhall, you have no worries about reliability and servicing. Costs and parts are very reasonable. This car has been at the top of so many charts for about 3 years now, and much of this is down to the way it drives. There's nothing wrong with the Vauxhall Astra, and since the Zafira is based on the chassis, it shares much of the characteristics of the Astra. Now, if you want to build performance with your MPV experience, Vauxhall even offer a 2-litre GSI turbo, although this takes it to the 20 grand price band. Let's take a look at the technical specifications of the Vauxhall Zafira. Well, now let's see how our expert panel have marked the Zafira. So, with the Vauxhall Zafira at number 2, what's our number 1? Well, before we unveil the winner tonight, let's run down the whole chart. At number 10, it's the small, nimble Audi A2. At number 9, it's the Mercedes A-Class. Toyota's MPV, called the Verso, claims the number 8 position, whereas the Civic version from Honda, the Stream, claims the number 7 slot. A new entry at number 6 is the Fiesta-based MPV called the Fusion from Ford. Citroen's best-selling Picasso is at number 5. The gangster's favourite, the Chrysler PT Cruiser, is number 4, and Ford's incredible success story, the Galaxy, is number 3. Vauxhall's flexible Zafira holds the number 2 position, which means it's yet another award for our number 1, the Fiat Multipla. If you can forgive the strange looks of the Fiat Multipla, this is an incredibly good value and practical package. It wins friends all the time. Now, what makes the Fiat Multipla unique is that it has 3 seats at the front, each with individual seat belts, and 3 seats at the back, again, individual ones that support and hold you with a seat belt. The handling of this car is very positive, and remember, This six-seater MPV may be enormously spacious, but this is actually shorter than a Fiat Stilo. This means that manoeuvring the car is easy. You don't have to worry about the length too much. The other big plus point of the Fiat Multipla is the low window waistline, which means that you get a fantastic panoramic view from all that window space. If you are completely repulsed by the look of the Multipla, we'd say just drive it, experience it, and then make up your mind. You can't tell a book from its cover, and if this car's cover isn't attractive to you, just think. You won't have to look at it if you're sat inside. The Hunchback of Notre Dame may have been ugly, but he wasn't all bad, was he?
Yeah.
So now let's see how our panel of experts marked the car in our top 10 auto show categories.
Hi, this is Gary Shoefield. I'm the Director of Programming at Granada Mela Motors. We're here at Motor Show today on the Fiat stand, and I'm with Max Toso, the Managing Director of Fiat, and we are presenting him with an award for the best MPV as voted by our panel of experts, editors from magazines, and it's the Multipla, which is the award winner, and here it is, Max.
Okay, thanks very much. We are very proud of this award. We know that we like our car. Most of all our clients are liking this car, so we like to win more awards next year with all our family MPV.
So congratulations to Fiat for another well-deserved award for their cabinet. That's all from us here at the Top 10 studio. Do join us next week when we'll be looking at the top 10 compact executive cars. From me, Dave Lee Travis, safe driving and goodbye.